My dear friends, I don't want to be part of that. I'm not saying that that doesn't play a role. Probably anti-Semitism did something of that. Did serve the fact that Jews somehow stayed together. Cannot be denied. But if this is the whole story, or as David Hartman once wrote, great Jewish philosopher, when he said, you can't build the future of the Jewish people on the ashes of Auschwitz. And that is so true. But that is not what the Jewish tradition is all about. That's not what Abraham started a long time ago. True, it got sidetracked. Things went wrong. But now the time has come, I believe, that we can perhaps backtrack it, put it back on the railroad where it belongs. How? By bringing the Jewish tradition to the rest of the world. Friends, later on I started to read, and I forgot to bring out the pages, but I will give you that afterwards. Quotations of non-Jews about the Jewish tradition. One of the marvelous things about us Jews is this. If the non-Jew tells you that the Jewish tradition is great, then it must be true. If the Jew tells you this, or if the rabbi tells you this doesn't mean a thing. But if the non-Jewish world, great thinkers, important people who are known and famous in the world of literature, start to write as they did about the Jewish tradition, then suddenly we wake up and we say, hey, are we missing something? Leo Tolstoy, I quote, I will give you the quotations afterwards. The Jew is that sacred being who has brought down from heaven the everlasting fire and has enlightened with it the entire world. He is the religious source, spring and fountain out of which all the rest of the peoples have drawn their beliefs and their religions. The Jew is the pioneer of liberty. The Jew is a pioneer of civilization. The Jew is the emblem of civil and religious toleration. The Jew is the emblem of eternity. Leo Tolstoy. When I read this, I was completely taken off from my feet. Here is a non-Jew writing about me, about the Jewish people, about the Jewish tradition, and he's making these kind of statements. And I said to myself, so there must be more to the Jewish tradition than I'm aware of. John Adams, the second president of the United States, 1735 till 1826, I quote, I will, he writes, insist that the Hebrews have done more to civilize man, the Hebrews meaning the Jews, have done more to civilize man than any other nation. If I were an atheist, he writes, John Adams, and believed in blind eternal fate, I should still believe that fate has ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument of the civilization of nations. What a statement. Winston Churchill, 20th century. I quoted it in one of my books. I hope by now that you all have read my books and bought my books. Some people, says Churchill, like the Jews, and some do not. But no thoughtful man can deny the fact that they are, that is the Jews, they are beyond any question the most formidable and most remarkable race which has ever appeared in the world. That's what Churchill wrote. I would love, and I've stated this in Israel, I would love to translate that in Ivrit and hang this in every secular school. Together with Tolstoy. Together with other people. William Reece, former editor of the Times, writes, one of the gifts of the Jewish culture to Christianity, hear this, is that it taught Christians to think like Jews. And many modern men who has not learned to think, or many modern men who have not learned to think as though they were Jews, can hardly be said to have to learn to think at all. Paul Johnson, the famous historian, Catholic. The Jewish vision became the prototype for many similar grand designs for humanity, both divine and man-made. The Jews therefore stand at the center of the perennial attempt to give human life the dignity of purpose. Friend, I have a whole list in front of me. I will give it to you afterwards. Hang it above your beds. Read it every morning if you feel a little depressive. An international authority on Shakespeare by the name of A.L. Rose, here in England, wrote the following words. Your chief rabbi showed this to me. If there is any honor, he writes in his book, in all the world that I should like, it would be to be an honorary Jewish citizen of Britain. These are incredible statements. At the time, they shook me, because I realized that I was missing something, even after I learned in yeshiva. Even after I have learned so many years Talmud, because I realized that the whole thing is much greater than I ever imagined it would be. You know what? Let me say it a little different. All the many great things which Jews have done for this world, and we should not walk around like this, we should do this humble. But we should be aware who we are. You know what happened to us? We lost the copyright. We lost the copyright. Because we don't know anymore ourselves what we have done for civilization. And because of that reason, we look down on ourselves and we start to ask ourselves the question if we should be there. If there's any purpose in being Jewish. We are being challenged today also by Jews if there's a purpose to the Jewish state. But the truth about it is that if you carefully look into the Jewish tradition, you will see that it could solve so many problems which we have to deal with today in the general world. If we just would go for export. We are exporters, not importers. Our idea is to bring our concept of Abraham out to the world. Abraham started an export business. I give you one or two examples only out of many which I do not have the time to discuss. One of our biggest problems obviously is today is that we are overtaken with the financial world. Money has become an unbelievable thing which pushes us in all sorts of different directions because we look for luxuries beyond our joy. Economy, somebody once wrote, became the content of our lives. One of the most interesting philosophers of our days, I'm not sure if he's any longer alive, yes or no, was a man by the name of Schumacher. He wrote a little booklet called Small is Beautiful. I'm sure that some of you have seen it. Where he writes like this: economy as a content of life is a deadly illness, because infinite growth does not fit into a finite world of finances. That economy should not be the content of life has been told to mankind by all the great teachers. That it cannot be is evident today. We have created unhealthy desires. We are constantly working on what will be tomorrow. And we don't even enjoy today. Because we're always rushing somewhere else. Walk around in Manhattan and see what happens over there. Where everybody has no moment of menuchat hanefesh anymore, as we call it in Hebrew. Some tranquility. When I for the first time came to New York many, many years ago, I had this incredible urge to stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and stop everybody. And say to them, tell me something, sit down for a moment, tell me, what are you doing? There is no rest anymore in this world. Sunday became a business day. We have opened up the shops, we opened up our supermarkets, we have opened up, and we think that because of that we have been moving forward. And we create incredible crises, financial crises as we have now, where we have created